What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, and we're going to do a video today comparing the H&K VP9, mine is the gray one right here, with the CZ p10C. Now this one is the optics ready, but still the p10C platform and everything there. So this one is definitely going to put some panties up people's butts because there are fanatical followings for both the H&K and the CZs at this point. The CZs are really a favorite of a lot of competition shooters and a lot of people that like to EDC and carry a quality setup enjoy the VP9 and the likes of that platform. I do have to say, the more and more I take the VP9 to the range, the more and more I do like it. Now, if you did not see my original review on the VP9, I will leave a link down in the description for you. And if you did not see my immediate review on the CZ p10C, I will leave that link down below as well, because I pretty much liked this one right off the bat. When I first got the VP9, or actually when I was just kind of testing it out in stores, I remember just picking it up and just kind of doing a couple press outs with it. And just the way that it felt in my hand was like nothing else. The ergonomics of this thing were absolutely amazing. But when I got to the range with it, I was kind of almost a little underwhelmed. And that had to do with just a couple different things. I think I just maybe hyped it up in my mind a little bit more, but a little bit to do with that magazine release, even though I knew it was a paddle going into it. And then obviously, like I said, the CZ has a great trigger out of the box, and it felt really good in the hand. The ergonomics were really good, and it shot very, very well. So honestly, what we're dealing with here is a couple of striker-fired sweeties that a lot of people are really enjoying out there today, whether it's competition, everyday carry, or even for work setups. And like I said, people get fanatical about both these brands. And if you are one way or the other, I really want to know your opinion, so leave me a comment down below. If you guys like anything you see here in this video on these, I will leave those links down below for you so you can check those out. And make sure you are subscribed to the channel and hit that bell notification icon. Now that H&K, it is a little bit of that old guard. H&K has been around for a very long time, and they have produced a lot of really nice combat proven systems. Now conversely, the CZ, especially the P10 model, is kind of like that new buck on the block here, and it's picking up a lot of steam, especially once they came out with that optics ready version. They have been a little bit difficult to get a hold of until recently, however. And to get things going here, we are going to check out the basic specs on both of these things here, so you guys have a really good idea before we get into these things what they are going to all be about and kind of the sizes and weights and everything right up front. Let's go ahead and jump right into this with the CZ p10C first. Now, I found this thing all over at this point. It's in stock at several places. You can look it up. I can't tell you the websites on YouTube anymore. They don't allow it. But I found it in this condition with these sights for $515, which is a pretty good deal, although you do not get the optics plate fees. That is purchased separately. So a CZ p10C in this condition with the optics ready version is only $515. That's a pretty good deal. Now we know it is the 9mm. It's got a 4.2 inch barrel, and the overall length of this bad boy is, let me check out my notes, 7.3 inches. So there are some longer, there are some shorter when it comes into that compact range. It's a 15+1 capacity, 15 in the magazine and 1 in the chamber should you carry like that. And then we have got on this specific model an orange high definition sight and a darked out rear. That is standard for the optics ready model at that $515 price range. And of course that weight is 26.3 ounces. Obviously the system, the weapon only, not with everything that's on it, and that is going to be unloaded. All right, now the VP9 in this gray. I absolutely love this thing. Like I said, it just feels awesome in the hand. So what we got here, this one specifically, I think I bought this for just under $650. However, the black model is $599, which is what I've been able to find it for. So I wanted to compare that price to the black CZ, even though that's the optics ready model and this is not. Now H&K did just drop their optics ready model, which is also going to have, instead of the 15 round mags, it's going to have the 17 round mags, which it probably should have had in this anyways, because it's definitely big enough for a 17 round magazine. It's got a 4.9 inch barrel with a 7.3 overall length, and it just feels great. I know I've said that more than once, but it definitely feels great in the hand. And it has that weight of 25.56 ounces, and that's a little bit lighter than the CZ, which was actually a little bit of a surprise. So now that you know the basics, we're gonna get into these things and really kind of check them out. We're gonna talk about the triggers on there. We're gonna do some pull tests. We're gonna look at the size comparisons over all the grip angles and the handles and the feel of them, So I know that is important to many of you out there. And of course, we definitely have to take a look at the controls on them, but we're gonna get into these things right now. All right, let's get into both of these bad boys here in the market. And we got the hot grill out today because these are two hot grills on the market right now. The VP9, especially the newer version that's coming out with the optics plate, and the CZ p10C and that optics ready. Well, let's talk about some overall size here. So I gave you those specs earlier. So we'll get these set up butt plate to butt plate, and you can see there is a slight length difference that goes to the H&K, just ever so slightly longer. And that's from back plate to back plate, even though they're very similar all around. You can kind of see they carry somewhat of the same profile from top to bottom, although the CZ is just a little bit more angular, a little faster. So the H&K kind of does dive in a little bit right there. You can see on the edges, right where the front serrations are, but the CZ just slopes much more aggressively like that, which is good for press checking, you know, if you are into that. So very comparable there when it comes down to it. Now, when we put these things, let's go barrel to barrel here. We can see they have a very similar profile on that grip angle. One is not overly aggressive, different from the other. Both of them have a very nice area to get your palm back up in there on the back of that pistol grip. You can get way back up in there on that back strap. It looks, you know, to me, they look very similar. I don't think one necessarily beats the other. So let's talk about the texture here. We look at these right next to each other, get you the best light at the same time I can. So CZ has a little bit more of an aggressive texture to it, you know, where H&K on the VP9s kind of got that squiggly line stuff going on, but it's enough to work with, especially with those finger grooves. And generally, I hate finger grooves. CZ just has a little bit more of aggressive texture to it, but not uncomfortable by any stretch of the imagination. Both are doing very well as far as wear. They've got relatively the same amount of rounds through them. H&K, for some odd reason, you can kind of see that wear on the top of the barrel right there. It's more towards the sides, where on the CZ, it's more just right there towards the front of the hood. So they are wearing exactly as how I would expect both of these to wear. Now let's go ahead and check out some of the trigger feel of these. Obviously on the H&K we're talking about first. It's got that rounded, the curved trigger shoe. Light engagement there of the shoe safety, which is good, feels fine. Pretty decent amount of take up, and you can hear it. I mean, even though I got a pretty good amount of rounds through it, it's definitely smoothed out, but it's got some feel to it, I'll put it that way. So there's the wall, pretty clean break. And this reset's a little weird. It's almost like it overextends. You'll kind of see. Okay, there's the reset, but you can see it's immediate slack. So interesting, very interesting. It kind of feels different than many others. So let's talk about this CZ. We got more of that flat face shoe right there. There is a tiny bit of curve to it, and the trigger shoe safety does protrude a tiny amount out the front of the trigger shoe. But we have a very smooth take up. So very smooth. The brake, very clean and solid. This is all factory, both of these, by the way, so you guys know. Short take up and brake. So in my opinion, the trigger feel definitely goes to the CZ for sure. Let's talk about those sights real quick. So on the CZ and on the H&K. So on the H&K, we've got their kind of yellowish, like glow in the dark material sights, but they are not night sights. So you can see those right there. Where here on the p10C, we've got that darked out rear and then a high def night sight right there. You can get a good look at the front of it. So a little bit of sight, difference there. I do like the sights on the CZ just a little bit better than the kind of lumen loam green that's going on here with the H&K. But these are definitely usable, no problem at all out there on the range with them. So the feel of the grip, like I said, it's almost like I want to hear a love song when I grab this H&K. I normally do not like finger grooves. You've got side palms, you've got side swells and a back strap that you can change out. That is pretty awesome because you can really tailor this to your hand. I mean, and that's good. I kind of
I think I changed this from the factory to this one, and it just feels, it feels great. I mean, ergonomically, when I punch out with this thing, it just feels freaking amazing. More so than the CZ for sure. So the CZ is good. It's got a nice angle to it and everything like that, and it is comfortable. It is enjoyable. But my hand just feels at home when I grab the H&K. That's just the best way I can describe it. I feel like this thing is home to me. Let's go ahead and do a couple of pull tests here. We're going to figure out where these are pulling out and what they're going to give you out there after, you know, a whole bunch of ammo at this point through both of them. So we'll start with the H&K here. Reset that. I slipped a little bit. H&K's got a real aggressive arc to that trigger, so it's kind of a pain sometimes. We're going to do 3 pulls on both. First one for the H&K is a tad, I mean, well, no, that's dead nuts on 4 pounds right there, which is what it feels like, honestly. Okay. All right. Consistency right there, right at 4 again. And I do pull low. So if you guys don't understand, the higher you pull on that shoe, the higher the weight is going to be. So I pull where I try to get my finger, which is right at the lowest point of the trigger. That was a tiny bit under 4 pounds, a little bit unusual. Generally it stays right at 4. That's pretty dang good. There's a pretty good amount of rounds through here at that point. I don't know the exact amount, but I would say it's over 1,000 for sure. So both stock. Let's check the CZ. Okay, over pulled that I think slightly because generally I'm right at about 4.5. That's about 4 3/4. Be a little bit more careful on this one, but we're going to stick to 3. Otherwise we'll be here all day doing pull tests. So that's about what I expected. Right there is about 4 pounds and 4 ounces. So they are pretty close, but the feel of the CZ is a tad bit better. And there we go, that consistency again on the CZ, and that is what I was expecting. We're going to close it down at 3 pulls for both of these because I don't want to go much more into it. So let's talk about controls here. On the H&K, we are fully ambidextrous, obviously, because we have the paddle mag release down there. You got your slide release here, slide release, slide lock on this side. That's good. You got those enhanced cocking serrations right here that I'm not really a huge fan of, but they are there. I don't like them. I don't think that they need to be there. Kind of a standard takedown switch right there, pretty normal. As far as the CZ goes, we have ambidextrous slide stop slide release, but it is a swappable magazine release. Little bit of a leg up there for the H&K. CZ breaks down pretty much exactly like a Glock. Comes apart just like that, and then your recoil spring and everything comes out. I'm not going to break these things all the way down for this comparison because this is just an overall for these so you get an idea, but there are far more moving parts in these as say compared to a Glock. H&K, you're going to lock it back, flip down the switch, let it forward, and slide it off, and then everything else is going to come apart like normal. Back plates come apart, and it's, you know, it's fairly simple, but there's definitely a lot going on in both of these compared to some other style of weapon systems. And then obviously to put the H&K back together, you lock that bad boy to the rear, flip your switch, and you're going to be good to go. So that's the basics of both of these. So let's go ahead and we're going to talk about shootability and how I think these things really stack up against each other.
Now both of these, like I said, just have a fanatical following, but H&K specifically, it seems to be that the people that like H&K, they love H&K. And I can see why. These things just feel ergonomically so great in the hand, even though, like I said, I didn't quite like it on that first trip to the range. Now that I've been out to the range with it 6 or 7 times, probably a few more, the more I shoot it, the more I really do like the way that it feels and that it shoots. And that CZ has just been one that I liked right off the bat, and it has been gaining popularity quicker and quicker. And the competition guys, they really love these. Now the steel frame CZs are a whole different level. Those things are very enjoyable to shoot and very, very nice. But the polymer ones are really kind of, you know, making big moves in the market out there recently, especially since they fixed some of those early on things with the magazine release and a couple things that people didn't like. And when it comes down to how the thing actually just feels in the hand, it is H&K all the way. I mean, even in my left hand, this thing just feels so natural. And I typically do not like finger grooves at all, and this thing just makes me like finger grooves for some reason. Now, when it comes down to the trigger, I know that's something that a lot of people dig that H&K for. I have to give the trigger feel to the CZ. To me, it just feels like a little bit better of a trigger, especially on that reset. Something that definitely differentiates the two is the full ambidextrous controls of the H&K versus the CZ, where you have a changeable, swappable mag release in there. Now, that may not be a big thing to everybody, but that is definitely a leg up that the H&K has over the CZ P10C. Something that may be a little bit negative on both of them are parts. It can be a little bit of a pain sometimes to get them, but more so in my experience with the CZ. Specifically when they first came out, those optic plates were tough to get. This one specifically still has an aftermarket plate that I was sent by a company because I couldn't actually get my optic plate at the time. Now, conversely, there are several websites where you can get an availability of pretty cool aftermarket parts for the H&K. However, H&K's customer service is not known for being the best. Now, I have some personal experience with that, and I can tell you that it was a terrible experience with their customer service. I have not had to use H&K's customer service, CZ's customer service, so I can't really describe that. So if you have any experience with either, please let me know down in the comments. So after playing with these both for quite some time and really enjoying some time on the range with both of them, you know, what one do I kind of gravitate towards a little bit more? Now for me, it's gonna be a really tough decision because like I said, I am liking that H&K more every time I go to the range with it. It seems to just be very natural to me. But there are some holdbacks for me. There are also some holdbacks on that CZ though. The availability of those parts is a determining factor. Not being fully ambidextrous definitely gives a leg up to H&K. However, when I take everything into account, especially including the price of these things, I've got to give it a little bit to CZ. And the reason for that is because it's got a tiny bit of a better trigger in my opinion. I know some people may disagree with me there, but I just feel that it is a little bit better. Now, the fact that it's definitely close to, $90 cheaper, something like that, that's a pretty decent amount of money. Now, whether you're buying one, your first, or one of many, that's not a small amount of money for some people, and that can be a huge determining factor. For me, what it really comes down to is that mag release. Now, I can get pretty good with that H&K, as you saw in the video of me doing some mag swap drills, but it's very unnatural for me. It's very unnatural to have to use that paddle. Now, I will say this, H&K does have the version where the magazine button is up here. I've just never been able to get my hands on one, and I bought this one because I couldn't find the other one in stock. In my honest opinion, I really think had I had the one with the mag release button here on the grip, H&K probably would have took this one, even though CZ has a tiny bit better of a trigger. And it's a little bit cheaper because I really think the overall package was a little bit more complete with the H&K. And like I said, I know a lot of people are gonna get their panties in a bunch over this one. These are both really great pistols, and some of it may just come down to which name do you like more, which name do you trust more, or maybe a little bit of that ergonomics of which one you think feels better in your hand, because a lot of that is what it's gonna come down to. So you guys, if you like what you saw here today, go ahead and hit that subscribe button for me. Turn on the bell notifications with that little bell down below. If you like anything that you saw here in this video today, I will have those links down below, but you know that YouTube hates these things. So I got to put all this 2A related stuff over on the webpage or somewhere else. You can check the first link in the description. If you're interested in helping out the channel, you can use any of those links, or you can check out that subscribe star that I started so we can take this to the next level. You guys get out there, enjoy some of your stuff on the range. I know things have been a little crazy with everything that's been going on in the world. Have some fun, decompress, relax, and I will see you guys on the next one.